Old-fashioned women understand that discretion is sorely lacking in our society. Bearing the soul in public seems to be the name of the game nowadays. However, it is crucial to uphold a level of decorum and discretion, especially since we are in the age of oversharing. Hey guys, how's it going? This is Jacqueline, the unimportant homemaker, and today let's talk about womanhood. There ought to be some propriety practiced. The overabundance of distorted viewpoints has convinced us that keeping some things private is tantamount to hiding abuse or lying about reality. We accuse anyone who doesn't bear all of curating and glamorizing a false narrative. Not everyone has the struggles you have. Not everyone is subject to abuses or misfortunes. What's true for one person or a particular group of people might not ever be true for another. We would do well to acknowledge that some things are indeed purely subjective. Because of this imbalance in experience, some topics ought not be discussed in the public forum. Delicate matters that might cause a lack of dignity include our husband's faults, our children's personal failings, and our own struggles, especially if they will be a platform for claiming victimhood. A husband's faults. Our perception of our husband's faults is intricately tied to our own subjective viewpoint. He might fail us according to our own standards, but the world doesn't need to hear that. Constantly calling notice to his failings will accomplish at least two things. It will make him look less respectable in your own eyes and will cause strangers to see him through a lens of distortion. They won't be able to distinguish between his failures and his triumphs, and they might demand you distance yourself from your own spouse. Acknowledging when he's not at his best is a sign of maturity. You know that Michael is not being his normal self when he's messing up. If you can't admit that, then maybe you ought to admit you actually fell in love with and married a fool on purpose. An old-fashioned woman would cover her husband's shortcomings and would expect him to offer the same in return. Dividing the household by inviting strangers to weigh in is a foolish and destructive move. Our children's personal failings. Protecting our children from harm is one of our main jobs as parents. How sad it is when the harm comes from our own mouths. Sharing publicly, even to extended family members, failings or embarrassing shortcomings our children experience might cause untold harm. They are growing up in a world designed for adults, and so of course there will be bumps and bruises along the way. We ought not highlight the blooper reel and share it to make fun of our children. By respecting their personal stories and not sharing their failures for entertainment or mockery, we create a safe space for them to learn and to grow. They ought to be allowed to mess up in private without letting others know every single mishap. Remember that mistakes and challenges are a natural part of growing up, and children deserve the opportunity to navigate them without fear of judgment or ridicule from others. Mothers especially should be discreet with their children's personal stories, since a parent's role is to provide support and guidance, not publicize their children's missteps. Our own struggles as a woman. As a woman, sharing our personal stories has become a favorite pastime. We like to find individuals who have experienced similar things and compare our stories. Of course, this has a therapeutic role in helping express deep emotional feelings, but at some point, the narrative shifts into wearing the struggle as our clothing, deeply identifying with and holding close to our hearts our hurts. The line between what happened to us and our own identity has completely blurred. We carry this burden on our backs and find ways to live in the emotionalness of it all day. Some women will rehash the incidents in their minds daily. Some will build their lives around their struggle, using it as a calling card of sorts. This behavior is extremely toxic and will rot all semblance of normalcy and progression. You would do well to share your story only with a discreet group of individuals you trust and then move on emotionally. This woman has to be careful to embrace her experiences without letting them define her entirely. If a story cannot be just that, a story, but must evolve into an identity, this might need to be a topic you discuss only with the Lord if you are a believer. Of all the things we can share, make sure to practice discretion and share only what is edifying and uplifting. Personal, delicate issues are the bones of a family and ought to be dealt with within the family. Strangers are not privy to the ebb and flow of your family dynamic and will be unreasonable in their support for or against you. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time here at the homestead. Bye.